Oh my gosh, Thursday again already.
I'm telling you, it just keeps on coming. But I'm
Yeah,
here this time.
yeah, yeah, you're here this time.
I know I'm here this week and next week, then gone 2 weeks. And so if everybody's wondering what I'm doing, I am traveling, helping Jonathan with shooting video and photos at places. So,
Getting a lot of clients done this year.
yep.
I
Yep.
think about 3 times as many as we said we were going to, if I recall.
Seems like that. That's for sure. But it's okay. It's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, yeah, today's Q&A. So you actually brought a lot of great questions to the table just from, I'm sure, because of the traveling you've been doing and talking with clients and things directly. So I say we jump in. Let's start hitting some of these Q's with some A's.
Well, we'll see if we have A's to all of them. We'll see. So the first one really is an interesting question. How do we actually track our marketing results? And this is kind of a question that has come up several times, and there's no, there's an actual science to it, but in order to hook things up to where you can actually really track your marketing results, you almost have to have a marketing platform. We have kind of a marketing platform. I'll let you speak to that a little bit, but there are platforms out there. They cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month that hook up to everything. I mean, absolutely everything, and track everything and marry everything and KPIs and the whole 9 yards. But they're expensive, and a lot of times people can't afford those.
I would say you don't need a platform, you need a system. And there are some platforms out there that will accomplish the system for you, but you, at the very least, you need a system. You need certain people in your business who know that they are responsible for tracking, and they need to know what to track and how to track it. And then they need to go about that process of doing that tracking. And it could be as simple as a pad and pen next to the phone, and every time it rings, the person in your office who answers the phone is asking specific questions about how they found us, those kinds of things, and writing down that information on a pad, or just keeping a tally, so that you at least have some rough rudimentary understanding of what marketing is actually working for you and what marketing maybe isn't working at all or as well. So, I mean, that's a system, right? And there are some great stuff.
I'm going to push back on that, because it's not, it's a system, but it's not 100% accurate. And what I'm being asked is, how do we find out? And here's the problem. If I see somebody on Facebook and I go check their over here and check their reviews on Yelp and on Facebook and Google, and then I go to their website and then I call them and they say, how did you find me? And I say, Google. That's what almost everybody says. If I see a truck out and there's a phone number and I see that deal and I look up the phone number and say, oh, I'm going to look up the reviews, and I do that, and I call in and say, how did you find me? Google. 9 times out of 10, if they end up online, they're going to say Google. And that's not always 100%. Let me finish. It's not always 100% accurate.
Neither is software.
No, exactly. And that's my point. Even having these systems set up, you could set them up as good as you can. It's not 100% accurate. But here's what I do know, okay? If you're online, and whether they come through Facebook, Google Business Profile, Yelp, whatever, that's one thing. If they can track you back to your truck, to your a yard sign, a billboard, something like that, that's another, because those are two separate types of marketing. So to me, if you can get what's online and what's offline, then that will help. It's still not going to be 100%, but that will help. And the best way to do that I know, is through call tracking.
Tracking numbers, exactly. And that, whether you use software for that or not, I mean, you can literally go out and, tell your phone company to give you 6 extra numbers, and you can assign those numbers for specific use in other places. And every time that phone rings in your office, you know that's a call coming from that particular marketing effort. And software makes that job easier, no question. But there are still things that, I mean, it's a fine point, but a homeowner or somebody could still see a yard sign and get on Facebook and see somebody recommending a business, and then go to the website and call the tracking number on the website. And all you're going to know about is the fact that they called the tracking number on the website.
Yeah.
And you won't know that they saw a yard sign and Facebook recommendation first. So, I mean, those are just things that we cannot do anything about, whether it's software or not. But, the goal is to be as accurate as possible and at least track the last thing that they saw that caused them to make the phone call, the actual final connection with you to set an appointment. That much is, you got to get that much.
I mean, this came about when somebody said, I want to absolutely actually track every single thing and every person that comes to my website and da. And it's like, yeah, that's just not going to happen. Here's another thing. Yeah, here's another thing I want to point out. So there are people out there that have, that do marketing stuff that have what they call internal tracking systems. It's the same thing. I'm going to go back in the old days when people used to have me go through their Yellow Pages tracking, and I would go through, and Yellow Pages would say you would get so many calls and so many of this, so many of that, and they could not correlate the calls that Yellow Pages were saying they were getting to what they felt like they were actually getting from the Yellow Page listing. And I would go through it, and sure enough, all the calls were there, but some of them would be like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 second, 5 seconds. I mean, it just, there's no way you can pick up the phone call and say hello in 5 seconds. So a lot of these internal tracking, if you can't back it up with a third-party system of some kind, even if that third party is what's coming through your office, on a scratch pad. If somebody says that they're doing Facebook ads and those Facebook ads are getting 50 people a month and your office people have 2 at the end of the month, something's wrong. Something's up. If you also go to your Google Analytics and there's nothing there, you go to Facebook and you cannot correlate the number they are telling you with the number that is out there in a third party, if you can't get at least somewhat close to those numbers, something is wrong. And this is I have a really big problem with people who have internal tracking mechanisms that they show people that people can't verify. That's a problem. You got to verify it some way, somehow. You got to at least come close. And none of them are 100% accurate. I mean, I can take Google Analytics and what Facebook say, and they're never 100% the same. But I guarantee you they're close.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these are the things that drive me crazy because people want absolutes. You're never going to get an absolute.
No, but, it's that last thing that caused them to call. That's that. The tracking number, right? That's the final thing that somebody uses in order to get a hold of you, and that gives you a pretty good indication of what they came into contact with that made them finally pull the trigger.
Yeah, and you track Google Business Profile. We track landing pages when they get there. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can track in a lot of different ways, but to be 100% accurate, I just don't think it's possible.
It's a holy grail. Yeah, there's very few companies that can manage that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So my second question is, how can I turn off marketing when I have too much work coming in?
Well, you can turn off some parts of it, but you can't turn off all of it, or you shouldn't turn off all of it. That would be a big mistake. You'll probably speak to this too, and I don't know how you answered the question when you talked with this person, but I mean, I know that turning off AdWords is a fairly quick solution to, overspending and turning that off so that you're not overspending for leads you can't get to. and you can control that, turn it off and on, and throttle your lead flow using Google AdWords. But in terms of like turning off your entire SEO strategy that you've been working for years to build up, probably not a wise decision, because while there's some residual strength there and you won't see an immediate hit, the lag indicator, the lag factor would put you in a real bind. In other words, you don't really know when to start it back up again in order for it to really start doing you good again. And you certainly don't know whether or not it's like this, all this inflation talk, right? I mean, yesterday the Fed came out and said we're not going to raise rates again this cycle, and everybody went, "Whoa, we might actually get the soft landing that we thought was going to be impossible." So this idea of a soft landing, it's this really nebulous idea that's so complicated, nobody really knows whether or not it's possible or not. Everybody hopes it is. Well, that's kind of akin to turning off your SEO strategy on your organic search strategy and stopping all the work that's been going on there. You don't know whether or not you're going to have a soft landing or not. And you believe me, you don't want to find the bottom of that cycle if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, because SEO just takes longer to get going. I mean, so this is the way I think about it. Don't turn off the things that take you a while to get there. Okay. You can turn on ads. You can turn off ads. Yeah. That's, Google ads, local service ads, Facebook ads, we're going to get into OTT marketing and what that is. Those ads. So those all should be month to month. I have a real problem with companies who don't let people turn off ads on a month-to-month basis, that put them in, 6-month, 12-month contracts when it's ad related, because you can't turn them on and off as needed. And, if you're a seasonal business, I had this conversation earlier today, actually. If you're a seasonal business, you have to think of it like this. Google's ads, all right? When you have a Google ad, that ad works when people are searching for you. So if you're in HVAC, when do people normally search for you? In the spring and in the fall. Getting ready for summer and air conditioning, getting ready for winter and heat. That's it. So if during the middle of the winter, you're doing a whole lot of ads and you're not getting a whole lot of results from it, don't be surprised, because most of the people aren't looking for you unless something emergency happens. Okay. So in the chimney industry, perfect example, people start looking for you probably around August, and they quit looking for you about mid-September, mid-January. Okay. So during that time, if you've got all your ads going and you got way too much work, and the company you're working with does not allow you to turn those ads off, so what? You're spending money to just make people mad.
And probably going to have trouble spending the money because nobody's looking for you.
No, well, during the season, everybody's looking for you.
During the off season, I mean.
The off season, when you use those type of ads during the off season, you can't hardly spend enough money because nobody's looking. So you want some type of interruption marketing. So what's an interrupter? Interrupter is you're watching Netflix, and we don't have anything that has ads, I'll be honest with you, but there's a lot of people that watch those things, and they watch the version that's got ads. So, ads come on, that's interruptive marketing. It's the same with regular TV. Anytime a commercial comes on, that's an interruptive marketing piece. It means that you're not looking for that thing, but they're going to show it to you anyway, try to get you interested in it. So Facebook ads is like that, so there's a lot of ways you can interrupt people in marketing. And that's usually what you have to do when people are not looking for what you do. So, that's a real important thing. Now, with that said about when your business, the one ad I think you should always have, especially in Google AdWords, is what I call a branded ad. It's simply that if somebody puts the name of your business in Google, your business comes up, period. I think you should always have that ad. It's not costly. It's not expensive. That's there. And the reason that I say that is because people can actually bid on your name. And so that protects you.
Mhm.
Somebody's looking for you at you. And so that's how I answer that. Maybe too long, but oh well.
That's good.
Here we go. Okay. Any suggestions as to what to do when the phone can't be answered?
Well, we've seen this problem in busy seasons, and it's not always, I mean, it's not always the fault of marketing. Sometimes it's a problem because you just don't have enough hands on deck to get to everybody and be able to serve all the people that are calling. Even in a slow year, you're just struggling because you don't have enough people. But I mean, there's not a business owner I know of that doesn't stress over the fact that there are phone calls that are happening that we can't get to. So I think certainly needs to be a procedure for that, a standard plan that everybody in the office knows, what's going on, and a phone system that's set up in a way to be able to, accommodate this kind of situation. I recommend, having a waiting list. I think every phone call in the office should be answered. Please don't turn off your phones just because you're crazy busy and you're tired of hearing it ring. And even if you answered it, you couldn't do the job. Just make it somebody's job to always answer the phone. And you can tell people right now we're not even booked out to a certain point. We're not accepting new jobs because we don't know exactly when we're going to be able to. We can't see past the work in front of us at the moment. So we're putting we have a waiting list. Happy to put your name on that waiting list. First come, first serve. If we have an opening that comes up earlier, we go to the waiting list and we start calling, people to get them fit in as we can. That's a good strategy for making sure, because now you're somebody is on a waiting list. They're a little less likely. I don't have any stats on how less likely, but they're a little less likely to go to another company to do the job. You're still going to have people that get on your waiting list, but also call another company to see if they can get it done faster, and don't bother to tell you that they don't want to be on the waiting list anymore because they found somebody else. But what does it matter? I mean, you're ultimately what you're trying to do is engage with that customer to get the job, even though you don't know when that job will be able to be done. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and the worst thing to do is let your phone ring or turn it off. To me, at least let people have a way to leave a message for you and give them a parameter of when you're going to return that call. So I have a coach, and I was on a call with her earlier today, and it was really, really interesting because we've had certain conversations back and forth, and I've talked about home service business, how they're a little bit different, in the past. And she started out a conversation with something like this. She said, "Oh my gosh," said, "I experienced exactly what you've been talking about with home service businesses." And I said, "Well, what happened?" She goes, "We have a plumbing problem. Yesterday, I called 5 plumbers in our area." And I said, "You hadn't heard back from any of them, have you?" And she's like, "No." She goes, "What is the deal? Do these people not want to work?" And I said, "Well, they may have too much work. That may be the problem. And I gave them several other deals." So my point with that is you're really leaving customers out there if you assume that they've already called somebody else. We tell people, the chances are if you don't call back in 5 minutes, they've called somebody else. But the reality is, if everybody thinks that and they've left 5 messages and nobody calls them out, that's a customer waiting. It's a customer waiting. So don't assume. I think that's a big thing. Don't assume if you can't answer the phone that you shouldn't just get back to that customer. I mean, I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. Keep your fishing poles in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next thing, where should I concentrate my marketing, or should I go after everything? And this is not about, this question was not about, do I need to go after Facebook and Twitter and all these things? We're talking about area. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Where should I, so like what geographic region should I concentrate my marketing?
Yeah. In other words, and this came from a guy that's just starting out.
Mhm.
So, he's like, should I really concentrate like in one area and do everything I need to do there and just kind of get that and then close, slowly go out? Or should I just try to go after everything?
I think a lot of it depends on what you already know about your market. I mean, if you haven't been in business in a market very long and you don't really know where your best customers are going to come from yet, then a broader, more shotgun kind of approach in your market might be a good idea for a little while. You're going to test a lot of different markets. You're going to find neighborhoods you don't ever want to go back to, but you're going to find a few that you're going to go, oh yeah. And when you find those, then you can start really targeting. I love the idea of targeting, but you've got to have data in order to know what to target. So that's, depending on how long you've been in business and how much data you've bothered to collect, and not taking a second guess kind of a situation where, well, that one time over on that side of town, that guy with the really nice car, you know, seemed really nice and had that really big job. I mean, that's all anecdotal. I'm talking about like hard evidence in this zip code, whatever it is. Our jobs are 20 to 30% more per ticket than anywhere else in town, and the callbacks are almost zero. So this is our ideal sweet spot. We need to get everybody in that zip code that has a fireplace, because we know, based on real hard data, that this is good for us.
So I had a similar answer, but mine was based on your capacity, and not just the capacity of work, but also what kind of money do you have to spend?
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to go after a really broad area, and and time too, because this guy, just starting out, so he's going to have to do some guerrilla marketing. That may be knocking on doors, leaving flyers, doing some walking through neighborhoods, those kind of things. So you got to figure out how much time you got, how much time you got, how much money you got to, to put to it. And, luckily he's very familiar with the area that he's in. So I told him what I would do is I would start, with a smaller area, one that basically met the criteria you just talked about. If he could figure out what that criteria was, and this guy happened to be a chimney guy. And so, we all know 18 to 30-year-old homes that have prefab fireplaces are prime, to need fixing and replacing and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we talked about, is find those areas that you feel like are really, really good areas. Now that changes, chimney is a little bit different. It's because chimney is an appliance. But it's pretty much the same in HVAC. If you have a neighborhood or whatever in HVAC, and you know that the average appliance is X amount old, and that the builder used the same thing, and they're going to break down. I mean, if you have information like that, then all of a sudden it becomes a little bit easier to concentrate your marketing target. So it's kind of, both of us are right in that.
No, there's two sides to that coin. It's highly specific offer with, to a highly specific group of susceptible people.
Yeah.
People who are susceptible to that offer, and yes, time and money and resources play into what you can do and what data you can get and all of those things. I'm sure.
So I mean, it's all that. So my main thing with this was the better you know who your audience is, the better the area that you're in, the better you can make this particular decision. All right. Okay. Can you explain the difference between SEO, SEM, and OTT marketing? Can you take this one?
Well, I mean, sure. I'm sorry, did you say me or you?
I said, do you want me to take this one?
Gotcha. You broke up a little bit. I'm having some connection issues. All I heard was, do you want to take this one? And I didn't hear me or you.
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So SEO is search engine optimization. What that means is that we are optimizing both on page and off page in order for you to rank organically in search. That's what true SEO is. Now, there's a part of SEO, it's also local. that involves the map listings, Google Business Profile, that still though is to help that map and that listing rank well on Google. So that's what SEO is. SEM is search engine marketing. That's all your ads, local service ads, Google AdWords, Bing ads, anything that you're doing on the search engine. That's the key here. If they're coming up on a search engine that you use, whether it's DuckDuckGo, whatever, that is SEM. A lot of people sell SEM as SEO because they say, well, those ads go to the top of the page. That's true, but it's not really SEO. SEO doesn't have anything to do with ads.
Yeah.
Okay. So just know that. And here's the other thing. There's sponsored ads on the map. Those are coming from Google AdWords. Okay. So know that. I've had people call me and say, I want that, but I don't want to do AdWords. Well, you can't have that without doing AdWords. So, that's where it comes from. That is SEM on that map listing. So understand that's different from SEO. Now, OTT marketing stands for over the top marketing. What that is streaming. Facebook falls into that. Instagram, all TikTok, all YouTube is another one. All those fall into the OTT marketing and just over the top. So that means they're outside of the search engine, basically, and they're in other platforms that are accessible by people. Another type of OTT marketing is gaming. There's ads on games. All those are considered OTT marketing.
Display ads on other websites are part of OTT as well, technically. I mean, they get lumped into SEM but you're not seeing the ad on a search engine. So,
right. Well, if it's, yeah. The thing that happens is like AdWords has a search function, which is a true SEM play. It has a display function, and it also has YouTube.
Right.
The display in YouTube really would be considered OTT marketing.
Yeah.
So that's the real difference. I'm going to throw this in. Why do you need to know the difference, Carter?
Well, I mean, ultimately, for tracking purposes, you want to be able to know exactly where your best return is coming from. But really, it helps because when you know that during certain times of the year, SEM, search engine marketing, is just not going to be very successful to you, you can shift dollars from that strategy over into over-the-top marketing because you can interrupt people. You can get in front of them even when they're not specifically thinking of you top of mind. It may present an offer to them that they're susceptible to at that moment and win you some business. So shifting your dollars around seasonally in order to put it where it's best used is part of the strategy. So I think for that reason, knowing what they are and what they mean is a good thing.
Well, the other thing is SEO is long play, SEM and OTT are short play.
Yeah, that's good.
Those are those that you can turn on and off. SEO you can't. So that's really the main thing with SEO. It takes a while to ramp it up and give it moving, and it'll take a while. If you stop it, it's going to take a little bit to stop, but it's going to take just as long to get it back up to go if you ever need it again. So that's the problem with SEO. It's a long play type deal. SEM, OTT, you can start, you can stop. And so if anybody locks you into SEM or OTT marketing that's not month to month, a lot of times to get it set up, they'll do a 3-month deal or a 6-month deal, but then after that, it should go month to month so you can turn it on and off as needed.
And there's a lot of great opportunities in over-the-top marketing too. I mean, platforms that you didn't mention Spotify or what's the other? Pandora, right? Yeah.
Pandora, yeah, all of those.
And some of the apps that are out there, like local apps for neighborhood kind of things that, are local coupons, a city coupon app or something, they'll do ads as well. And you can actually show up in their apps. So, a lot of good opportunities.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, all right, here we go. Does anyone have a low cost SEO solution? All right. Believe it or not, I got asked this question about 2 months ago, and it came in from somebody that's 70 years old that is paying through the nose. He's on his last years, and he's like, dude, does anybody do anything in SEO that can help? And so from that, I've been on a mission. So I've actually figured out something, actually, a couple of things that we're testing right now that are low cost SEO solutions. Now, I'm going to qualify a couple of things here. This is not changing your website, making changes on your website. It's not, in other words, to do this, you don't come in under an agency and we do your website changes and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about if you're looking for a low cost, just standalone SEO solution that you want to look at, then get in touch with me, Taylor at sparkmarketer.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. It really is best for smaller companies that don't have a lot of content, that are not able to produce a lot of content. And it's a pretty good, slick little thing. So I put that in there, even though it's an old question. We have a solution now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and with the advent of AI and other things, I mean, I think there's kind of an implied thing in this question that isn't stated, but you don't just want a low cost SEO solution. You want a low cost, effective SEO solution. Just like you don't want a cheap beer, you want a cheap beer that tastes good. You know, I mean, you can drink cheap beer if you want to, but it's awful. You know,
Yeah.
you get what you pay for is my point. But with advent of AI and some other tools, there are some strategies that cost less because it involves less people hours. Is it as good as like the full, Cadillac version of a agency doing all of your SEO for you? Of course not. But it does have some value and it does have an impact. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was really looking for. But because we have a lot of smaller companies that have been online for 20 years, and they have decent rankings, they have whatever, but they're just looking to stay where they are. They're not trying to grow, they're not trying to get bigger, they're not trying to do a lot of the other things that other companies are. If you're trying to grow and get bigger and knock it out of the park, this is not a solution for you. So yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Or the other thing it would work well for is if you are just getting started, have a brand new website, and not been able to do any content, outside of your website. That's another thing.
Good use case, right?
Use case. So, so that was it. We did have a comment. I'm going to put it up. It comes from Chuck Roydhouse today, and I agree. You got to track and know what your profitable jobs are, then target that demographic and market to that person or area. That is exactly true once you have that information. But remember, if you don't have that information, you have to kind of start somewhere.
You got to track.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so from here, where are we time wise? How do we do? We did pretty good.
Yeah.
There was some pretty good questions in there.
Yeah, we're still on the nickel.
Yeah, there we go. So Spark Live is also released as a podcast, if I can read, on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Podvine, or your favorite player. Speaking of some of that OTT marketing, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
And then next week, we're gonna jump back into social media and talk about choosing the right social media platforms. Some of the things you need to do to be able to do that. So, man, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for the thumbs up, the likes, and the loves for you guys that are out there. We really appreciate it. Hope y'all have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.